I wrote 2 words to help me, remind me, and start a conversation, and they were pleasure versus pressure. And that to me kind of helped me position.
We're going to interrupt you just briefly here. Those are brilliant focal points, because it is between the pleasure that we're always asking you to line up with, because in your satisfaction and contentment, you are in alignment with who you are. And when you are under pressure, you're not. Esther was on an airplane yesterday. There was a long delay out of Atlanta coming into Orlando. And there was a man across the aisle. She was up in the front cabin. There was a man across the aisle, just slightly behind her, 1 row back and across the aisle. And he was under so much pressure. Everything that was happening was just making him so uncomfortable. And Esther saw him and realized that he was in stress. She didn't realize how much. And then he just couldn't stop himself from expressing it out loud. And so as the delay went on for hours, they were on the plane at the gate for hours. And so everyone kind of got a sense of everyone. Some were really playing with each other. Esther was more observing and watching for an opportunity to hold a good thought. And she could feel that this man was, by the end of the 4-hour layover, he had worn very thin with the woman who was sitting next to him and to the flight attendants. And Esther looked back and said to him, "Don't get up again. Just sit there. Try to sleep if you can. Just try to sleep if you can." But couldn't get him to settle down. And ultimately, they took him off the aircraft. They took him off the plane. And from Esther's point of view, it was necessary by their standards and rules, unnecessary, because it wasn't going anywhere. This just was a man under pressure and verbalizing it. And so Esther thought, if I'd been sitting next to him, could I have helped him? And the answer to that is, no, not in 3 or 4 hours. Not really. You develop your momentum of the way you feel. And this is a man who has a lot of desire, but is blaming everyone and everything for everything that's happening in his experience. And he just cannot stop uttering his discontent. And so he just kept increasing his pressure and increasing his pressure. And Esther was talking to herself. And Esther didn't lose her alignment. She didn't go into worry. She cared about what was happening with him. But, you know, she sort of settled back in and accepted the futility of trying to fix something right now and the trend of where it was headed. She thought to herself, this is the law of attraction doing its thing. During the course of this 4 hours, the flight attendants timed out, meaning they couldn't stay. And so others came in. And the lead flight attendant at first was tuned in, tapped in, turned on. He was playful. He was fun. He set an atmosphere in the cabin. And he was such a better match for that man than the flight attendant that came next. And Esther thought about our story about bags of marbles. It's like everyone's running around with a bag of marbles. And every marble in your bag represents every thought you've ever thought. But not all of them are active. But the ones that are active are the reason that the law of attraction brings you what it brings. And everybody else around you has a bag of marbles their own. And so the law of attraction is matching those bags of marbles up. And Esther thought, I have never seen such a clear example of this man's bag and the previous flight attendants matching up. Wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. Wasn't great, but it wasn't bad. And the next flight attendant's bag of marbles. This is not an indictment about how anybody's bag of marbles always is. This is based upon what you're thinking, what you're feeling right here and now. And if you've been under pressure, and if you've been trying hard, and if you've been feeling bad, then you've got a lot of marbles in your bag. They're attracting things, so you keep getting blindsided with things. You keep having to deal with things. There are all kinds of things. And we want to say that man was justified, really, in how he felt. It was a long, hot time on an airplane. But it's not what is happening around you. It's how you're feeling while it's happening. One quick thing, if you've practiced when times are good, feeling satisfied and appreciative, so that that's your momentum, and that's the bulk of the marbles in your bag. Then you have this emotional, and oh, it is so important. Coping isn't the right word, because it's not coping in the sense that you're just holding yourself down and not flying off the handle. It's that you're happy anyway. There were two women on the plane right in front of Esther, and Esther's words to them when they finally got off is, "You two were a hoot." They were playful with each other. It was words games. It was getting to know each other. They didn't know each other. Esther watched two bags of marbles just beautifully blend right in front of her. She wanted to go up there and sit right between them. She so wanted in on that conversation because they were so delightful. And so this question that you're asking about pleasure or pressure, this is something that we have to say one more thing, and then we'll just get right with you. Most everyone, when things are going well, it's easy for you to have a good feeling response to it. If the weather doesn't cooperate, then just have your nervous breakdown. So for most, even most of you in this room, even Esther, some of the time, although getting so much less, even recently as she turned the manuscript into the publisher, the book was so good for her to finish because it is so intensely only talking about the only thing that Esther has to do in order to live happily ever after. There are a whole lot of things you can do, but you've hit it right. It's pressure or pleasure. It's picking the emotion on the emotional guidance scale that you can find and then tuning yourself to it so that, and here's the last sentence we're going to speak before we listen to you. It's going to be a really long sentence, though. Lots of commas.
I expected that.
Parentheses and things like that. When you get it, that the way is to find a way to feel, which means you have found a way to emit your vibration, which means you've found a way to focus that feels good. Then good matches you. If you need the good to be there before you feel good, then you've got a rough ride. And that was what was going on with this man. Esther's found a way to feel good anyway.
You know, we want something, and then when we get it, of course, that feeling of happiness, whatever it is, okay.
But what about all that time in between? In the time when it's gestating,
well,
when
that's
it's,
it.
when
That's
it's coming.
That is a good feeling. The anticipation of making it, of bringing it.
It is if you're anticipating rather than being impatient. That's pressure. So anticipation is the good feeling, and the anxiety is the not. There's two ends of every stick all the time. Yeah.
Anticipation of a good thing. And what I've heard you say it. I've heard Abraham say it before.
So what is it?
You can actually remember that moment of joy, whatever it was. And I had a very...
So you know what we know, and we know what you know, and we're both saying what we know. Is there anything else you want from us?
I want to keep this. I think you taught me how to get to that point, and I just want to live there. And I think I know if I just bring myself in the very present moment to have the most beautiful now that I could have.
The thing is, we agree with you completely. The thing is, you know when you're having that no good, very bad moment in time, you don't have access to these kinds of thoughts. And so beating up on yourself for not being where you remember having been or where you want to be is not a practical or effective method. Instead, just saying contrast helps. Sometimes it sucks. This is the thing that we really want to emphasize. You are not wrong about the reasons that you feel negative emotion. You're not wrong. You've seen something, somebody said something. You're not wrong. And if you could leave this gathering today really convincing yourself that you're not wrong, but trying to prove yourself right, and to prove yourself not wrong just holds you in this discomfort unnecessarily for a longer period of time. So often people are writhing against this man. He was so miserable. Esther just wanted to zap him with something. Drugs, a knockout punch, a lobotomy. She so wanted, but no one can get relief from the outside. It's an inside job. And so when you put it together that this feeling, law of attraction is going to cause it to escalate. and this feeling, the law of attraction is going to cause it to escalate. And if you can put together how you feel and what comes next, how you feel and what comes next, then even when you don't feel good, you're not beating up on yourself. It's really pretty unbelievable. We don't mean unbelievable, we mean remarkable, that you chose pleasure and pressure as your counterparts, because those are really good counterparts. Satisfaction only comes from moving in the direction of what you want. So often, we teach the science of deliberate creation, and we teach the art of allowing, and we teach paying attention to the way you feel. But what we want to emphasize more than anything else is it doesn't matter where you are, it can get better, and it doesn't take that long, and you're not wrong where you are. And if you could not feel defensive, there's so many people that have been hanging around you and you've been hanging around them, and they haven't really made the connection between the extension from non-physical that they are. They don't really know they have an active inner being who's present with everything they're doing and thinking. They don't really understand that they have an active guidance system that they can rely on. And so they've been calibrating to people around them, because it always feels good when somebody likes you or appreciates you. And so instead of calibrating to your true resources and sources, most people are calibrating to keeping those around them happy. And that's really treacherous territory, because the people around you are up and down the emotional scale all over the place. And so when you accept that it is an inside job, and you remember that your inner being is right there with you. As Esther watched these flight attendants who were tired, they were tired. As she watched them get snarkier and snarkier as the day went on, a little less shock absorbers, she thought, we are so accustomed to responding to our circumstances and then explaining the circumstances that we're living in order to do what? In order to explain why we're not joyful, in order to explain why we're not succeeding, in order to explain why our lover hasn't come, or our money hasn't come, or our house hasn't come, in order to explain, I'm standing here in this place and I've been trying hard for quite a long while and I'm not really where I want to be, and I'd like to explain to anyone who will listen how unpleasant it is to be in this place where I don't want to be. And that's what we want you to get over. We want you to see standing in this place that you don't want to be as the really exceptionally, extraordinarily brief period of time that it needs to be. If you can first love yourself anyway. Esther will say, Esther, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong about this. That's jacked up. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That should not have happened. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But you are miserable. You're not wrong, but you're under pressure. Self-applied, unnecessary pressure that you are blaming on whatever this is. If you can get over that, you can't do it all at once. Esther knows if she'd had a month with this guy, it wouldn't have been enough. You know, he'd practiced that. Everything bothered him. People got on the plane too slow, and people stood in the aisle too long, and people were in the bathroom too long. There was a long, long list. And you know what? He wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. But he was miserable and under pressure. And so, you all, if you've been listening to us for a while, we've been saying, you all been listening to us for a while? Then you've been hearing us saying that how you feel is an inside job, and that you get what you think about whether you want it or not. And that the reason that you feel bad is because your inner being doesn't. This vibration that we're offering to Esther and her precision in finding the words to speak it is the most significant statement that we ever make. And if you can integrate this into your own decision to be more like your inner being, then you're going to have a big quantum leap in terms of your emotional stability. Your inner being will never sacrifice its pleasure in order to join you where you are, in order to give you the validation you want that you're right in your misery. Because even though the circumstances may justify it, your connection to source energy will not accommodate it. And that's why you feel what it feels like to separate yourself to some degree from the source energy that is really you. There, that's the most significant.
And you know.